Hi friends, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and my friend Razzie and I are here today to talk to you about some really fantastic books by a really fantastic author. So I wanted to do an author spotlight today where I talk about different books written by a specific author, and this one is a favorite of mine. I love her stuff so much, and I've been recommending her a lot lately to patrons in the library, so I thought, why don't we do a video and talk about some of her really awesome, fantastic books. So the author is Tana French, and she is an Irish author. She writes crime fiction. They're somewhere in between thrillers and mysteries. I don't necessarily think they're fast-paced enough to be a thriller, but there's also a lot more going on than just the mystery aspect of it. So the very first one I want to talk about is called In the Woods. And this is the first book in her Dublin Murder Squad series, which I think now is actually a TV show, maybe on Starz or HBO. I'm not sure what channel. But this is a TV show and a book series, first, obviously, that is about this crime-solving unit in Dublin. And they solve murders. Now, the thing that's really interesting about these books is you don't have to read them in any kind of order. It's very rewarding if you do, but you don't have to. So because each book features a different case and different characters. However, each book features a character that was played a minor part in the book before. So for example, in this book, the main character's partner goes on to star in the second book. And vice versa. I think in the second book, there's a character that's a detective that's only in a couple scenes, and then he is the main character in the book after that. So you don't have to read them in order, but it is really interesting if you do it that way, because then you get to see, oh, I remember this person, and oh, I get to see a whole book about them now, and it's really cool. But each book does feature a different case, and you don't really have to have prior knowledge of the previous books to go forward. But this is the very first one. And this one is super intense and creepy and amazing. And it's about this detective named Rob Ryan, who, when he was young, he disappeared in the woods with two of his friends, and when the police found him later, the other two friends were gone. They were never found, and he was just clutching a tree and didn't remember anything. He's an adult now. He's working for the murder squad. He still doesn't know what happened. That case was never solved. Those kids were never found. And now he's working on a case about a murder of a young girl, and things from his past are starting to come up. And the past might come out. It might not. You don't know what's going to happen as you're reading the book, as he's trying to figure out what happened in this case, this present case, who murdered this girl, as he's interviewing everybody. I really, really love this book. It's a great introduction to the series. It's also really cool because I haven't read a lot of books that are set in Dublin. It gives a lot of information about Dublin and about Ireland in general. The politics, the economics, the socialization of people in Ireland. So very interesting in that regard too. So like I said, this is a really good place to start, but you don't have to start here if you're interested in that, in this series. And this is In the Woods. Now, the next two books I want to talk about are standalone books that she's written. So they're not a part of a series. You don't have to, they're one and done. So you don't have to worry about reading anything prior to that. The first one is called The Witch Elm. And this is about a man named Toby who experiences a burglary in his house, a robbery, and he gets wounded in the process of defending himself in his home. So he is now in the process of healing from this. He's got a lot of devastating injuries. So he goes to the countryside in his childhood home of his grandparents to try to recover and to get back on his feet, physically and emotionally too, because it's taken a toll on him in an emotional sense as well. Well, as the family is all gathered out there, they discover a skull at the base of this witch elm tree in the backyard. And as the police get involved and this investigation starts happening, Toby has to come to terms with the fact that his childhood may not have been as amazing and perfect as he thought it was, and even his own memories may not be what he thought they were. This book is a really fascinating psychological and sociological portrait of different characters. And again, this is a beautiful story about, well, it's not, the subject matter isn't beautiful, but the setting in the countryside is absolutely beautiful when they describe this. And the thing that I think is really fantastic about Tana French, but also the reason why I hesitate to call her a thriller writer, is because her writing is very much a slow burn. So there is not a lot of action in these books, despite them having to do with murder and unsolved mysteries and things like that, because she builds it up and builds it up and builds it up, and she lays the groundwork for these characters, and she lays the groundwork in this setting, so that you feel like you are completely enveloped into these characters' lives. And I absolutely love that. I would much rather read a story like that. I mean, I love regular thrillers too that are just hit the ground running and you don't stop to the very end. But these are just, I think, so much more rewarding character studies. And once you get to the end, you'll be surprised and maybe justified in what you had thought was going on. But that's The Witch Elm. And it is very, I think, and I don't mean to make it sound like they're not exciting books, even though they're slower paced, because they are. It's very exciting, and it's just this sense of dread that builds the whole time because you're trying to figure out what's going on. So that is The Witch Elm. And the last one I want to talk about is actually her newest book that came out this fall, called The Searcher. I just love this cover, The Searcher. And this is about a man named Cal Hooper, who was actually an American police officer who is now retired, and he has moved to the Irish countryside. He's seen more than his fair share of death and murder, and he doesn't want to do it anymore. And you know, he's kind of estranged from his family. He's divorced, not really close with his daughter, so he's just looking for some peace and quiet. Well, he befriends this young person who tells him that her brother has gone missing. And nobody seems to care because they're sort of a poor family and they have a bad reputation. So now Cal is once again drawn into the story of a missing person, and he's trying to solve this crime. And this book, I think, is absolutely fantastic because of the sense of the town and the sense of the community in this story, as he is now an outsider. He's trying to fit in here, and now he's getting involved in the personal lives of these people in this town who are very reluctant to let him in and reluctant to let him investigate. And so he's reaching a lot of setbacks with that. He's hitting a lot of obstacles. But the more drawn in he gets to this investigation, the more caught up he is in it, and he has to just know what's going on. So I love this. This is just such an interesting portrait of a retired police officer in Ireland and the countryside and the society and the town that he has found himself in. And again, this is another one that's a slow burn. It's very slow to get started, but it lays the groundwork so well where you really feel for Cal, and you really feel for this young child that's come for his help. And you're just dying to know what the end of this mystery is. Very satisfying. And that is The Searcher by Tana French. So that's who I wanted to talk to you about today. She's a fantastic crime writer. Like I said, it's very different from your usual thriller or mystery where everything is just really fast. These are a lot slower paced, but super rewarding. I'm always so excited when there's a new Tana French book coming out. She's one of my favorites. So I hope you will try her out, maybe with one of her standalones or with the Dublin Murder Squad. Either way, I think that they're all really fantastic stories that you will like if you like crime novels. So I hope that they sound interesting. Please feel free to check them out from the Farmington Community Library, either branch. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye, friends.